and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another edition of Drive Time here on this lovely September 8th as we get closer and closer to the end of the year, which is just crazy. I'm joined with my co-hosts, Showtime Sarah and Scott. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great, and not as good as Sarah, who's eating some like a Twix or something.
Yeah, yeah. And so instead that'd be following, that'd be good for the what you eating segment that the guys always do on the Sundays, right? So all right, so we're gonna try something a little bit new today. We're having Showtime is gonna do hit all the buttons and stuff like that. So she's in charge. So if something goes wrong, just blame her. That's the way they always look at it. So we'll see how she does. I'm sure she'll do fine. No pressure or anything like that. All right, so go ahead and hit that first button. Let's see how she does. There it is. All right, real quick, have to start the show with this. The king of all media is at it again. In case you don't know who I'm talking about, it is the one and only Howard Stern, who I always feel like you got to give a little bit of tribute to, because talk radio, sports radio, podcasts like this would not be anything if it wasn't for Howard Stern. So for those that don't know, there have been a lot of reports out there over the last 3 or 4 weeks that his deal with Sirius was done, that he was fired, that he wasn't going to be coming back. So he had a special show today. And to start off the show, he had his good friend Andy Cohen start the show to make it sound like that he had been fired, that he wasn't going to be allowed to do a final show, and that his time with Sirius was done. So in that time while Andy Cohen was hosting the show, the AP picks up that and starts reporting that Howard Stern has been fired and that there are no shows. And then sure enough, all the morning shows start talking about the fact that there's breaking news that Howard Stern has been released from his contract with Sirius, only to have Howard Stern then come on the airways 15 minutes later in the biggest prank of all time, to further show that sometimes the media just takes things and runs with it today instead of, actually doing journalistic work. So a tip of the cap to the king of all media for a big "I got you" to everybody, and it was enjoyable. I enjoyed it today. He is the master of bits, and I love a good bit. So, tip of my cap to Howard Stern and his bit today, because man, when you fool the AP. Well, maybe it isn't anything anymore. Maybe it's not that big of a deal to fool the AP. But I mean, like the AP had a news story out there that they had, and it took them 20 minutes to realize, oh shit, we've been had. So a tip of the cap once again to Howard Stern. I don't know if you saw it at all today, Scooter, but it was pretty damn funny.
I heard something about it. What's funny to me is I have Sirius XM radio for like the past 8 years. And I totally forgot Howard Stern was actually on Sirius XM until I heard like a few weeks ago he'll probably be off Sirius. So Howard was a huge player in the 90s. I mean, when you bring up 1990s culture and icons and stuff, he's right there, like with his Buttman stuff and all that.
Yes.
He kind of like when he went to Sirius, I think that like he was such a huge contract, but I don't know. I stopped like watching or listening to him like 2000, kind of right near he moved on. But I just saw he lost his like funniness, what he was from the 80s and 90s. Then he moved into like corporate media, if you will, with Sirius. Now, where you could say anything you want to, but his stuff wasn't like the past. And then I think the Dana Plato incident kind of rubbed me the wrong way with a lot of people. But
it has.
But
he's always talked about that as being a not bright point in his career.
Yeah,
I think his show has changed. Like, he still has. Don't get me wrong. Like he's the only man I know that can go from slapstick gay humor where he's got guys doing stupid stuff in there, and then he'll have somebody on and but where he does have, I think he's become one of the best interviewers in the business. Like his interviews today, like if he has somebody on that show, like, he gets stuff out of people that they just don't, because he's got them on there for more than 5 minutes, and it doesn't like I've never been, the one I can think of is like Lady Gaga. I've never been a big fan of her music until I watched her or listened to her interview on the show, and then I'm like, man, like that was interesting to me of like her life and everything like that. And the next thing you know, I'm starting, you listen to a little bit more of a Lady Gaga song than you ever did before. So I think he's become a great interviewer, but his show is
Howard Stern to Lady Gaga.
No, he interviewed Lady Gaga.
Oh, I thought you were like making a comparison.
No,
I was like, I don't think those are the.
I was talking about him in the sense that he.
I mean, he has better hair than her.
Well, true, he does. But so that's the point, though. It's like he does this job where even if you're not interested in the person, you start listening to the interview, and you're like, okay, like that's cool. Like, and I think that's where he's changed now. Is he's become this really, really good interviewer. Like, I've said this, to people from like Hillary Clinton refused to go on that show during the 2016 election. And I think it was one of her biggest mistakes because one of her biggest flaws was that she couldn't relate to people. And on that show, she did. And like, there were hardcore Republicans that even listened to her saying, like, my opinions of Hillary Clinton changed from that interview. But she didn't, it was too late. She did it after the election. And I think that's one of her biggest regrets because he can do that with people in interviews because he has time. That's the great thing with satellite radio. He can have them on there for an hour if he wants. So anyway, that's just my bit from.
I will say this about his interview. He's always been a great interviewer.
Yes.
Like in the night, even in the 80s, like, I mean, he's always been a great, he's always had that. Like what he's probably done is tuck that, like he probably, sure he's not doing his black skits and all that stuff like he used to do. Robbing people in that bag.
Yes, and which I do miss some. I do miss some of the old school stuff because it was just downright hysterical. But anyway, so tip of the cap to the king of all media. So all right, a couple quick sad announcements to make if you want to go ahead and hit the next one. So one of the great goalies of all time. You could make an argument for maybe one of the greatest of all time for sure. I would hear you out on that. I put Marty Brodeur a little bit ahead of Ken Dryden, but during the late 70s, there was nobody better for sure in goal for the Montreal Canadiens. Ken Dryden passed away at 78 from cancer. The man won 6 cups in his 8 years as the starting goalie for Montreal. He missed a year for some different stuff. 258, 57, and 74 was his record. This is back when, yes, you had ties. So, just amazing stats. 922 save percentage. 224 was the GPA or GPA. See, so we're talking school beforehand, so now I got GPA in mind. Goals against average. He retired young, because he had a lot of other interests, a lot of things that he did other than hockey, and I think he just didn't want to do hockey anymore. So he only played 8 years. Maybe my thoughts of him, best of all time, would be different if he played a little bit more. But he still was one hell of a goalie. Scooter, you got any memories from Ken Dryden?
Well, I mean, he's kind of like the Gale Sayers of the NHL. I
Right.
mean, Gale, besides the championships, okay? I mean, Gale Sayers never went to a playoff game, for God's sake, strangely enough. I mean, he was actually drafted as the same time as what was the linebacker? I can't remember his name right now. He just passed away like last year. But Dick Butkus. They were both drafted the same year, and neither of them ever went to the playoffs. But he only played 8 years. He won 6, if I'm correct, 6 Stanley Cups. I mean, the Montreal Canadiens at that time, Larry Robinson, the whole crew, they were just unbelievable. But he was the backbone. His numbers really reflect how great he was. He was also, if I'm correct, the color commentator for Al Michaels during the 1980 Olympics.
Yes, he did, because he was the guy that was on with the call, and he was pretty good at that. Like that's what I mean. He did that for a little bit too, but then he was a man of many interests, as some would say, because I think he could have gone on to have some decent broadcasting, but then he kind of stopped doing that too. And he went in and did a whole bunch of different stuff. So
well, one of the most important things he did outside of hockey, and he said that I am here today because of what I did in hockey, and there's no problem with that. Was he became a major political leader with the Liberal Party in Canada. He was like he was their leader at one point. So he was like the Nancy Pelosi of his party, if you will. So he was a major player, but he did admit, I'm here because of what I've done in the past. But hey, that gets you there. That's what gets you there. So he helped with whatever he did up in politics in Canada. I mean, he gave years to Canada. Yep. Outside of sports. So, I mean, good on him.
Good man for sure. Sarah, you got any memories of Ken Dryden, or I know it's way before your time. So, and any thoughts on Ken Dryden, and from your new hockey knowledge?
No, I mean, I know he was obviously pretty good, a 6-time Stanley Cup champion. That's as best as you could get. I think he's definitely iconic for just I think he simply stated that hockey was easy. I mean, it probably was easier, 50 years ago than it is now today. They made a lot more rules to it. So I think he's definitely obviously a good old legend that helps remind you of the old hockey ways. Another
Go
thing to
ahead.
mention, your good old Chip was saying
Yep.
something about.
Stern. Yeah, he says his interviews are usually good. But show itself had gone downhill year to year. The bits are still repetitive. Even the bit this morning he did the same thing, went on radio, which is true. He does do some repetitive stuff. So I agree with that. All right, one more rest in peace to go. This one was on the baseball side. Davey Johnson probably hits home to anyone that's an O's fan and a Mets fan. Obviously, the best known as the manager of the '86 Mets team that won the World Series against Boston. He also won 2 as a player for Baltimore. Played 13 years, won 3 Gold Gloves, managed 4 teams, also manager a bit for the Washington Nationals as well. One of the guys that helped to convince, Cal to show where he was. He's the manager that convinced Cal Ripken to move from short to third when he was in his time with Baltimore as well. So, overall, just very good manager. I think there's the stats talk for themselves about what he did, and he was also a damn good player, which I think people forget too. So a sad loss on the baseball side.
Yeah, he's in I think the Hall of Very Good for baseball players. I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame for coaching, for managing, but gosh darn, he was a really good manager. Especially what we saw with Washington National fans saw what he did. He built that team up. He was the guy that really put them on the scene. So he was a great manager. And an interesting thing too is a sidebar on his life and career was that 1960 the Amazing Mets, when the Amazing Mets beat the Orioles in the World Series. The last out of that game was Davey Johnson flew out to center field. He was the final out of that game. So it's really interesting that he took the Mets later in his career to become the greatest Mets manager of all time.
Yes, he did. And to answer your question, no, he's not in the Hall of Fame for National Baseball Hall of Fame. He is a member of the Baltimore Orioles and New York Mets Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And he is a candidate for the Baseball Hall of Fame due to success as a player and manager. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A combination of the two.
Yes.
It's like Joe Torre. Joe Torre probably gets in with his player stats, but he's definitely in because he went into management. And then he worked later for Major League Baseball.
Yep. Exactly. Agree with that. Anything for Davey, Sarah? If not, you can move on. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So now we do have a couple entries. As we continue our look in the rearview mirror, go ahead and hit that next one. So we do have a couple entries from. Go ahead and do the Osei. Can you sing? Bring her on up.
Oh.
There you go. So we did have a couple of entries for this on Thursday night was our first NFL game, and Boys to Men did the anthem. Now Boys to Men is done. Hold on, let me pull this up here real quick while I babble on about them. They've done a few different anthems over the course of time. A great a cappella anthem is what they usually do. They did that again on this one, so I was very happy to hear that. I wanted to see. I couldn't remember if they did or did not do. They did not do a Super Bowl one yet, so they're not on there. I couldn't remember if I had them on the list from that or not. But they just do a solid anthem. Now look, Father Time is catching up with them a little bit, so there's a few notes that they can't hit anymore. But they still did great. I gave them an 8 for excitability, an 8 for range, an 8 for pitch, an 8 for speed, and a 10 for style because I just love a good a cappella anthem, and I thought that they did great. So overall, they get a 42. So the 42 out of 50 is right there in that line. It's right just a little bit above average. And right there in that group, so they're not that top 10 because the top 10 is 53 and lower, but right there next to it, so they're in that big group now, tied for 11th place of where I've got them at from all the anthems since we started doing this. The second one was a sax anthem, was done by Kamasi Washington in the Brazil game. Some people didn't like it because he had a bass player playing with them. That was, it was an interesting bass riff that was doing, but the sax was amazing, and it was the anthem. I don't know why people got in a tizzy about it, but it doesn't get a grade because there was no vocals, so no grade on that one. I think I might have to come up with a grading scale for instrumental versions so that I can get these guys some grades, because then my harmonica group, the LA Kings harmonica group would blow it through the roof if I could do that. So I might have to figure out something to rate the musical versions of it. But Boyz II Men started us off the season, and they started us off right. It was a good solid anthem out of them. Any anthem thoughts? I know it's my bit, and the guys look forward to it. So
I was helping with the Mission Barbecue on Thursday night, helping the Bird fans get ready for their game that night because it's up in Wilmington. So we're basically Philadelphia. We're Philadelphia South. And and the next day I was down in Lewis, Delaware, where I didn't get to see a lot of the game because we were out at a dinner club. But I will tell you this: you want to check it out if possible. In Philadelphia, the Delaware State Police is having a trumpeter, and he on 9/11 on Philadelphia, he's doing their anthem.
Okay, so for
get a chance to check that out. I was trying to get that guy for my Mission Barbecue on 9/11 to play a live national anthem in the Phillies game over the. I guess they got preference.
So yeah. So what game is he doing on 9/11?
Philadelphia. It's a Philly game.
The Phillies game. Okay, that's okay. Well, yeah, I'll try to see if I can find it somewhere, if at all possible. So
yeah, you'll probably get a replay of it or something.
Yeah, I can find it somewhere, I'm sure. Or who knows, maybe on the Phillies broadcast on MLB TV, I might be able to pull it from there. So
right.
We'll give it a whirl.
If I find it, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yes, I always do love a good anthem, as Sarah knows, right? So, all right. Continuing on with our look in the rearview mirror, we had some U.S. Open tennis. So we had both the finals that happened over the weekend. On the men's side, we had Mr. Alcaraz takes out Mr. Sinner. I always love Sinner. It's always fun to say. 4 sets this time, so he wins his second U.S. Open. He also took out Sinner in the French Open earlier this year, so this is the second time beating him. You kind of makes you wonder, might there be a new number one in men's tennis when he's beaten him the last 2 times in a major and head to head. There's a lot of hope this year that maybe this could be the tournament that the U.S. men could end that curse in, but Sheldon, who was playing really well, was forced out last week with the injury. Fritz, who was doing okay, lost to Djokovic, who then turned around and lost to Alcaraz in the semis. So the closest we got on the men's side this year was the quarters, which, again, a little disappointing. We do have some guys that are coming up, but Alcaraz is just a beast, and so Sinner. So, again, you had 1 versus 2. Again, I think it's like the 3rd or 4th one that these guys have met in the last 5 or 6. So it was a good match, so it's good to see. But I think he's got to be the new number one.
Alcaraz is a really great player, so he's a great tennis player. So he's right up there, man. I mean, you're talking about like Boris Becker, Ivan Lendl type stuff back in the 80s.
Yeah, yep. Oh, well, those are always fun matchups. Boris and Ivan throwing the Johnny Mack in there or Connors back in the day in the U.S. Open. That was the must see TV of then. So. So Chip Scott, Alcaraz was unstoppable, which he was, and go ahead and hit that last one. And Joker's about at the end of his time, which he brings up too, which is true. He is. I was kind of rooting for him to maybe get that one more swan song run, because that would have been, I think the U.S. Open crowd would have definitely been behind him if he would have been able to get there into the finals. But Alcaraz was just too much for him. He took him out in 4 sets. On the ladies' side, Sablenka wins another one. So this is her 2nd straight major after winning at Wimbledon. She is the first woman to win back-to-back U.S. Opens in 11 years. The last one to do it was Serena, who did it from 2012 to 2014. She took out another American, Ansamova, who she's been kind of coming back from injury and then also from having a kid, and I think she's getting there. Clearly she had a great U.S. Open this time. Couldn't quite to get it to the end, but the crowd was definitely rooting for her. But sometimes that's just not enough when you're facing the best in the world. And right now, that's what Sabalenka is. She's won Wimbledon. She's won this one now twice in a row. So we'll see how that goes. The American ladies are much further along. They've had a lot of success. Pegula had a good run here. Of course, Coco Gauff and Madison Keys, didn't quite go that far this year in the U.S. Open, but they've done really well in the majors. So it's good to see the women's side for the American ladies doing well. I'd like to see the men catch up. I think we're finally starting to see some signs of some American men tennis players catching up to the ladies, but they got to go over the hump and win one. I think we're going on what now? It'll be now 23 years since Reddick won the last one on the U.S. men's side.
Oh yeah, it was.
It's a drought. It's a long drought for sure.
Mr. Mandy Moore at the time.
Yes. Yeah, they're not married anymore, are they? I don't think.
Probably not.
All right, Sarah, you got any thoughts from the U.S. Open stuff? No, she's like, just move on. Just keep on moving. Just keep on moving. All right, real quick. So this Grind My Gears segment is, of course, down in Miami. We had the foul ball, or not the foul ball, the home run that was hit by Harrison Bader. The guy goes over, and look, he broke no foul ball etiquette rules. That whole entire aisle, if you haven't seen the video, the whole entire aisle, the road that he is in is empty. He goes over 6-7 seats. The ball is clearly there. The lady, which everyone's calling, the Karen is reaching down, but does not have her, from any video I saw, did not have her hands on the ball, or maybe she had touched it, maybe not, but it was clearly down in the aisle. He picks it up, goes over, gives it to his kid. And I think everyone has seen the video by now to know what the hell we're talking about, right? So then she goes over, demands the ball from him and everything else. So I have two thoughts on this. Number one, dealing with her, okay? Yes, the ripping on her on social media was all deserved, was all well and good. But look, she's a typical, to me, it's like when you think of the Phillies road fan, like that's what Philly Roads fan are, so she should not lose her job. She should not be found out. Like, I just don't buy it. Like, make fun of her on social media. That's where this should end. Like, she does not deserve to lose her job for what happened there. She did not, she didn't punch him. She didn't throw hit the kid. Like, make the fun of her. Like the Savannah Bananas made fun of the event where they had someone dressed up in a Grinch uniform and they replayed the whole entire thing. Hysterical, funny. Like, let's do that stuff for this. But she doesn't need to be fired. All right. That's taking it one step too far. Okay. So that's my first thought on this. The second part is then I saw a lot of people come out afterwards. Well, he wasn't an alpha male and didn't take care of things, and he didn't fight for his son. Like, he's in the moment. You can clearly tell he's in the moment, hugging his kid. They probably talked about all game, like the kid's like, maybe we'll get a good ball. Oh yeah, sure. Probably, maybe we will. And then he finally gets it. He's hugging his kid. They're happy about it. You can clearly tell that he's startled because he didn't see her out, coming away from there. And at the end of the day, do you really want to teach your kid to fight over a baseball? Like, to me, there's much more important things. Like, I would have done what he did. I would have like, okay, this ball clearly means more, and then use that as a lesson to my kids of, like, look, like, you have to pick and choose what you get in the battles for. Getting in a fight over a baseball at a baseball game is not something that anyone needs to fight over. I'm sorry, it just isn't. So people want to say that he's not tough and that he's not this and he's not that. And look, it ended up working out pretty damn well for the kid. He got a signed bat from Harrison Bader. He got a team pack from the team. And that would be my lesson to the kids. Say, see, sometimes you don't have to fight, and then you end up getting a better outcome. But all this things on him, too, about not being a good dad and not being an alpha dad because he didn't do something. Like, you can't trust people these days and age. I mean, granted, she got into a baseball stadium, so you hope that she doesn't have a weapon on her, but you never know what the hell somebody could sneak in. Is it really worth fighting over a damn baseball for? Like, this whole alpha dad thing has just gotten way out of control from people. Like, it's just not, like, I think he handled it fine. He's having a moment with his kid. He gets caught off guard, and he doesn't want to have a confrontation in front of his kids. I think that's a fair, reasonable response at a baseball game. So, no cursing in this Grind My Gears, so I know that's a little different for me, but I was trying to stay clean on this one. So, Scooter, any thought from the whole videos of all this stuff?
Well, everything you said, I could not disagree with at all. Like, I agree with everything you said. I think the push on the father isn't as big as it seems. Like, I think it's more a few probably people out there. He was
right.
Done something more. No, he did exactly what you're supposed to do. if you're a father or a person in general. You want this ball? Fine, take the ball. Like,
Right.
you know you're going to look good anyways if everyone's watching, first of all.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
going to look like the good guy because
Yeah.
you got some freak in front of you doing this. So I think he did everything great. And yes, everything, he did question her. I mean, it wasn't like he just goes, "Oh, okay, here's the ball." He
Right.
was like, "Yo, listen, I got this fair and square." And obviously, she's never been to a baseball game. Like,
Yeah.
And in the video, by the way, they did like Zapruder film of the video too, which is so funny. But she's like, as the ball is coming, she is like going this away
Right.
from the ball because she doesn't want to get hit by the ball.
Right.
But she wants the ball.
Right.
Now, I agree 100%. Like whatever she gets, she gets online. That's it. And
Yeah.
in a week or two, it's going to pass anyways, and she'll just be a meme. And she shouldn't get fired. People shouldn't get fired. She didn't do any. Now, if she did grab the guy, there might be a situation because she may have talked. But I tap people on the shoulder too, like, and I'm like, hey, great, nice to meet you, thank you. Oh, excuse me, I'll do that, but I won't like grab someone.
Right.
And if anyone's ever, you got to watch yourself too, no matter what, because if you've ever seen the movie 3 O'clock High, you certainly don't want to touch the person you don't know.
Right.
Even if it's in a fully good thing. But she was kind of like, she also got into some issues also. It's like she was getting harassed by the stands. And then she found another guy who was getting on her case. And she went up to him. And then she started, go Birds, Philly. She started going Birds to everybody, that's the most Philly on Philly violence I've seen in years.
Yeah.
All the Marlin fans are like, all right.
Yeah, they're just sitting back and watching the show.
This is great. You never get to see this great action. So it was just funny. So I hope nothing happens. Good for the kid and good for the father. So
right. Exactly. Gentleman Jack says the lady was ridiculous. The kid was enjoying the moment. A kid sucks. The adult ruined it, which is true. Sarah, any thoughts on that? I don't know if you saw it. I know you were traveling and stuff on in the boon or anything and all that.
I mean, I saw a little bit of it. See, like, the thing's interesting. One I did actually see is, I don't know if this was related to MLB or something separate, but there was a kid getting something signed by, I think it was like a hat.
The U.S. Open.
Was it the U.S. Open?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
So, yeah, the U.S. Open, kid was getting a cat signed, and one millionaire dude just, like, snatched it out of his hand, and, like, the kid was like, hey, that's mine, and the dude said something like, I've worked for this, or something, like, I don't know, like, it was something very weird. That guy deserves to,
that guy wasn't even a New Yorker. He was from, like, Europe somewhere.
Yeah. Like, it was really weird.
And he's gone the other route of being a total heel, where he's like threatening anyone if they go after him or his company that he's just going to sue them all. So he's gone the exact opposite route.
Exactly. Like, he was just
double
like
down on his assholeness.
Like, which would have been the weirdest lawsuit ever, but whatever. I will say something interesting that I think, like, you bringing up, like, oh, no one deserves to get fired. So, what if someone gets caught cheating on a concert game? What's the line of this? Like, well, from Coldplay concert to Philly's Karen. Like, what is the line?
The CEO is hooking up with the HR head,
right?
I mean,
that's a different story,
there's
right?
a board of directors in there too. They're probably going to be like, this is not looking good on the company. Yeah,
exactly.
No, you could. I mean, there could be a case made for if this woman gets found out her name and all this stuff, and there could be a situation where whoever she works, they're like, this is bad publicity.
Right.
You don't want this. We're sorry. We're letting you go. They have that right.
Yeah, that's true. They do. That's the thing that you do anytime you're at a baseball game or concert. You just have to know that there could be somebody's phone or camera on you at all times. Like, it's just that's what we live in today. Chips, the guy who stole the hat from the kid at the Open was a douche. The lady was ridiculous. Yeah, I think that's a good. I think I like that. That one's a douche and one's just ridiculous. I like that. All right, let's move on to some good baseball talk here. Quick little recap of baseball. My Colorado update. It's not looking good, friends. They won 2 more games. They're up to 40. The Chicago's at 41. They've only got to win 2 games, and they still have 19 games left. So it looks like my hope of Colorado being the worst team in the history of baseball is just not going to happen, sadly. So we might lose that bit, but unfortunately. So
well, it could turn into how many games are they going to win now?
Yeah, I guess we can try to do that. So, but but hey, we got good run out of that bit for a while, so I'll take that. It was a good bit. So
it's not officially over yet.
It'll still be second place or second worst season.
Yeah,
right?
they could still go down as one of a team that sucks for sure. Oh, look at that. There you go. Jack giving you some love for the Rolling Rock background, which is good. I always remember my college days. It was getting a bucket of rocks, which was a 6-pack of those beers.
Yeah, bucket of rocks, great.
That was good times right there. All right. On the baseball side too, looking at the home run race, Cal's now up to 53. Schwarber's still surprisingly at 49. He was stuck at, he had 49 when we did the show last week. He's still stuck at 49. Otani's up to 48. So I guess the question might be, will Otani get to 50 before Kyle? Suarez is actually up to 45 as well, and Judge is still at 43. So these guys have 20 games left to go. Obviously, it's looking better and better now for Suarez to get up to 50. I still think Judge gets there too. So we'll see how the race to 50 goes. Got any thoughts on race?
Looking good so far, all of them probably will make it, but Aaron Judge can hit, he can do it. Suarez, it's only 5 away, so
yeah,
5-7,
I think it's looking good for them. On the race side, not really much change on the NL. Philly's now up 7 games on the Mets. Milwaukee is up 7.5 on Chicago. The West is still the one that's up for grabs. LA is still up a game on San Diego. That seems to be going back and forth. And then on the wild card side, Cincy and San Fran are 4 back. Arizona and San Francisco are 4.5 back. That's from San Diego. But again, I'm still not confident that we're going to see any changes on the NL side. I just think it's there's 20 games left. 4 is doable, but again, if you're going to make up 4 games, that means if you go 14-10, you need that other team to whatever, or if you're going to go in 20 games, if you're going to go 12-8, then that team only has to go win 8 games. So you're going to have to go on a decent run here to make up 4 games with 20 left.
Not a lot of time left to make up 4.
Nope.
Not in the American League, it's totally different situation.
Oh yeah, now we get to AL. We got some fun. The AL East is we'll start with the not so fun. The AL Central is still done. Detroit's up 8.5 games. That's all that but over with. But the other 2, Toronto is only up 2 games on the Yankees, 3.5 on Boston. Houston is hanging on. They are now up 2.5 on Seattle, because Seattle, just for a loaded lineup like they have, they're just not scoring runs. And that has created a lot of fun for this 3rd wild card spot too, because you have Texas a 1.5 games back. Kansas City is only 2 back. Cleveland, who just took 3 out of 4 from Tampa Bay, is hanging around. They're only 2.5 back. And the one team that probably has the most control over their own destiny is Cleveland, because they still have 7 games left with Kansas City. A big 4-game series is coming up starting tonight. And then they have 3 games left with Texas. So while they're done with Seattle, they play all these teams that are right there with them. So Cleveland is in control of their own destiny. I'm sure if you're a fan of Seattle, you're hoping that Cleveland and these teams, when they play each other, they just keep beating up on each other, and no one really either sweeps a series or takes a 3 out of 4 situation. Cleveland does also have 6 games left with Detroit. Now, question could be by then is that and the only thing is you can't really rest anyone anymore with the limited call-ups. So it'll be interesting to see how that all goes. But buckle your seats in the AL, because between the East, the West, and the wild card, it could be interesting.
I still think the Yankees are going to win the East now. I think the past 2 weeks I've felt that way. Now I'm definitive. I think Toronto's going to lose the East. They'll obviously, I think, make playoffs. No problem. But They're going to lose the East, I think. And I think Cleveland has a great chance to get up there. But remember, Texas and Kansas City are, if Cleveland's we can do it, Texas and Kansas City got it. So they may all just beat each other senseless.
Yeah, that's my fear of it. that's what happens. So, but we'll know a lot more after this next week because, like I said, the Guards play Kansas City this week, and then they got Chicago. But it's a big 4-game series against KC, so that's another one of those. If they can do what they did against Tampa, take 3 out of 4. That's great. If you're splitting the series, then you need Seattle and Texas both to lose games, and that's where it's going to get tough for both those teams. But it'll be fun, that's for sure.
And the Yankees are 7-3 the past 10. No, Toronto's 5-5. So if that trend continues, it's over.
Yep, exactly. And we'll see with Toronto. Like I said, that's another team. The lineup's really good. They've got some good. Max Scherzer's been kind of found the fountain of youth up there. Bieber's been really good in his couple starts. For Toronto, their problems their bullpen. Their bullpen just is. There's no lock for anyone if they have a lead to guarantee that they're going to keep that lead. So we'll see how that plays out and goes on. All right, let's keep her moving, Sarah. So now it's time to get into the football part of the show, and we'll do our football roundabout. So little note, I got in YouTube trouble last week for playing the Yes song, so our show can't make any money from last week. And it can't be shown again in like 2 territories. So I guess I did a no on that. So who knew? I didn't know. So anyway, so no more music clips from YouTube, I guess. So all right, so let's get into some week 2 upsets, which there were a couple. We looked at the week 2 schedule and you're kind of like, well, where are the upsets going to come? But you know what, the upsets always find themselves. So of course I got to start with a shout out to my MAC school. OU took down West Virginia. 27,000 went to Athens, Ohio, which I can only, for anyone that's ever been to Athens, Ohio, it's a party city. I can only imagine that campus in town after they beat West Virginia of what that place had to look like. So they take out 17-10. They take out West Virginia. I don't know how good West Virginia is, but still, a MAC school always pulls off one of these. Last year was NIU going into Notre Dame and winning. In years past, it's been Western Michigan that's pulled off these type of upsets. So they do it again. So congratulations to them. And then the one I think pretty much a lot of us called or thought could happen, that did happen, of course, South Florida takes out Florida 18-16. Nico Gramatica hits the 20-yard field goal as time expires to finish off the upset. And the heat's right back on Billy Napier again in Florida, as it just seems like they just are not able to win these types of games. So congrats to South Florida, who's now ranked 18, so they finally cracked the top 25. Mississippi State in a thriller takes out Arizona State 24-20. They took Arizona State, who a lot of people thought might be a bubble fun team to win it and make the playoff. Instead, they are now out of the top 25. And then the crazy upset was Baylor taking out SMU 48-45 in double overtime. Baylor was down 14 points with 4 minutes to play. They come all the way back and win. So those are the 4 big upsets. Scott, any thoughts on those, on any of the upsets?
Well, Arizona State, their best player plays for the New York Giants, so there's that. But Baylor SMU, what a game, huh? What a game.
Yeah, that was fun.
The Battle of Texas, sort of. The Battle of Texas Christian schools besides TCU.
Yes. Go and read through the comments there, Sarah. If you want, that's Chip is the first one. You didn't start with Kent State football. Yeah, there was no upset there. The final score ended up being 62-14. They were down 30-0 after the first, basically right at their 5 minutes into the first quarter.
Well, who did they play?
They played Texas Tech.
Okay, so that's a decent
score. It was expected. So and then Jack comment on USF, which they cracked the top 25, which is true. They are now number 18. So that takes care of the upsets. The other intriguing games from the weekend of the matchups for the top 25. Look, this game was not intriguing as far as the score goes. Ohio State crushed Grambling 70-0. But the bands did not disappoint. Grambling's band did travel to Ohio State, so you had 2 of the best college football bands out there. Grambling's halftime show was amazing. And then what I loved is Ohio State, performed first. Grambling came down, watched them perform. Then Grambling's performing. The Ohio State band doesn't go up into their seats. They're sitting there watching Grambling's band perform. And then after the game, the bands do the 2 band directors got together and they decide both bands are going to perform together. They were on the field for about 20 extra minutes after the game performing together. Just a total respect between the 2 bands. So the game itself, nothing to talk about. But if you're a band geek, you would have loved what happened down in Columbus because it was awesome to see. LSU beats Louisiana Tech 23-7, a lot closer than I think what anyone thought that game was going to be, but it was a letdown game for LSU, but they still won it. Same thing for Penn State. They beat FIU 34-0. You look at that score, you say, oh yeah, they took care of them. It was only 10-0 at the half, but then Penn State finally woke up. Similar with Clemson, they were down, they were trailing Troy for a while, and then they finally pulled that one out. And then the big one, was Oklahoma, Michigan. Oklahoma takes out Michigan 24-13. That game never really felt close. And even though the score would kind of make you suggest, I never felt like Michigan really had a chance in that one. So those were some of the other big results from the top 25. Any thoughts on those ones, Scott?
Band geeks, LSU has like a 70-year-old band member.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I saw that. Sarah, you saw that,
LSU.
right? Because I know you commented on. I know you were talking about that this weekend. The 70-year-old, that because he's playing what, the tuba, I think. Yeah. Good for him. You know what? Hey, long live the band. If you can do it in your 70s, and go for it, man. I love it.
That's right. So that was cool to see. And then those games at halftime, 10-0 like Penn State over FIU. I mean, you're going to see a lot of that, and then of course it blows up in the second. And so I think we do see a lot of that kind of thing go on in college football, especially early. So that shouldn't be too. I'm not too surprised about that.
No, it makes it, but it does give you a little bit of, could this be one of those upsets? And then the team pulls, and here goes where that team hangs around and keeps playing them tough, or you get where they pull away 34-0, which is what happened.
I remember. I think it was still only a few years ago when the University of Hartford, when we were in Division I, we finally made our We finally made our first NCAA tournament game, and of course we have to play Baylor, which eventually won the NCAA tournament. But we were only down by like 10.5.
Right.
Woo! And then we lost by 34.
Sarah, you got to update the ticker because that was a Hartford reference there.
It was.
So we'll let it. Now there it is. No, now you got to do edit and change it to 1.
But I forgot who we had one of our members. We had one of our members last week when we were chatting. He brought a Mater, the quarterback of Oklahoma. He brought him up, put him on the radar for us. That guy had a really good game.
He did.
And then I was really impressed by the interview afterwards. Talk about the most polite kid in the world. Said everything perfect, and he was so like, "Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. That's right, ma'am." It's like, whoa, that's a good kid right there.
Yeah, it was good stuff for sure.
If you called Mater, I forgot who you were. Tell us if you're watching, please.
Sure. All right, and then the new top 10 came out this week, which was good stuff. So let's run through just the top 10 real quick. Ohio State remains number 1. No real changes here. Ohio State's number 1, Penn State 2, LSU 3, Oregon's 4, Miami 5, Georgia 6, Texas 7, Notre Dame 8, 9 is now Illinois, so they move up, and 10 is Florida State. Michigan falls to 23 after their loss. Arizona State, Florida, and SMU completely fall out of the rankings after their upsets. And welcome to the top 25, South Florida in at 18. Auburn makes it in at 24, and Mizzou is in at top 25. But one thing for sure in the top 10, that's a lot of big 10 teams, aka what I call the big 612. So they are well represented in this top 10 early on in the season. Anything that you disagree with in the top 10, Scott, that you think maybe a team's either higher or lower than what they should be?
Nah, I mean, it's early anyways in the season. So you just sort of the first few weeks, maybe 5 weeks in, you just sort of let it roll a little bit. That's when you start getting people getting, oh, well, they're 5-1 and they're 6-0, but the 6-0 team isn't as good as the 5-1 team. Then that's when you get into that kind of stuff for me.
Yep, agree. Sarah, anything on it?
Okay, so I'm gonna say things on the last 3 because you kind of did. You kind of didn't let me. One, I predicted that Mississippi State would be Arizona State, so I knew that was going to happen. 2, just a fun story while I was in Boone. So I was with my best friend's parents. My best friend's dad, he is from Florida, USF fan, Tampa Buccaneers fan, Lightning fan, anything Tampa related, he's probably into it. So we had just finished watching the App State game. We met up with my best friend after she got out of dress of her marching band uniform. Speaking of the App State game, they played Lindenwood, which you probably don't even know who that is, but it should have meant that we should have kicked their butts and blow them out like 56-0, and it actually ended up being a 22-13 game that we won. But it was terrible. Like, I still had fun. Don't get me wrong, but like my poor best friend's parents just kept apologizing, like it wasn't supposed to be like this. And I'm like, I blame my best friend's mom though, because when my dad was texting me about how Kent State was losing already, she said, well, you should text him that App State's already won the game and it hasn't started yet. And I told her, I was like, you said something and it spited the football gods, and this is your punishment. But anyways, so we had gotten to this bar called Phys Ed. It was really great. But we were originally waiting like that, and the game was still going on. It was 16-15 Florida. So I was watching it while, obviously everybody's just sitting down chatting, and then we finally sat down. But right where we were sat, where they had the TV, it was like just out of my reach. But if I stuck out my head real good, I could see it. So it was the fourth quarter. So I'm just sticking out my head watching it. I saw the close field goal that they had, and I told him it was like they missed a field goal. And then I saw that they were going for the other field goal, 5 seconds left. And I was like, and then they made the field goal. I was like,
right.
They made the field goal. It's 18-16. It's 18-16. And his face just lit up. You would have thought awesome. I was telling him that the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl or the Lightning won the Stanley Cup. He started going crazy, and we're in public right now, so he's kind of yelling, and probably nobody knows what game we're yelling about right now, because there's like, I think the Troy Clemson game was on, and then also the Army Kansas State game was on, so probably nobody knew what we were yelling about. And then so he's just going crazy. His wife is trying to calm him down, like, we're in public right now, stop it. And I was kind of giving into it of like, yeah, they won. Like, I don't have any association with South Florida, but to be honest, I kind of like it when Florida loses. It kind of gives me a little joy. Just a little.
Well, I'm with you on that. I agree. I whenever they lose,
at least maybe not the team so much, but the fans are very interesting. Also, what is it with the spitting lately?
Yeah, there was a spitting incident in that game too. We haven't gotten to the spitting incident in the NFL. We'll get to that in a little bit.
We'll get into it more, but that was crazy. Yes. But it was just a great story. He was so ecstatic, and then we were driving on the way home. I told him that they were ranked 18. He's like, that's crazy. Like, the last time he remembers them being ranked high was like 2 when he was like still in high school or something. So he had a blast. I'm very glad that he was enjoying a moment. I mean, beating 2 ranked teams, you have to think they beat 25 Boise State, and then they beat they beat Florida. 13 Gators. So I think they play Miami next. So that's going to be
So speaking of that game, go ahead and it's a nice little segue right there. So let's get into some of our matchups for week 3 coming up. I put this one on because, again, OU just beat West Virginia. They now get the road to go into Columbus. That game could be one of these ones that's going to be close at the half. OU won the MAC last year. This is their Super Bowl. Like, when one of these Ohio schools goes into Columbus to play Ohio State, this is the game for them. And none of the other games really matter as much. So this is their shot to prove that they belong. And I would not be surprised at all if OU hangs with Ohio State for a little bit and keeps this probably a lot closer than what Ohio State wants. But I think in long term, that's going to be good for Ohio State. So keep an eye on that one. I'm not saying that's going to be an upset special, but don't be surprised if OU hangs around that game for a little bit. Clemson,
the 45-13 is close.
Didn't you think Grambling and Ohio State was going to be close?
I did thought Grambling might give them a run. This one's even more. I just wanted the bands. I was more excited about the bands.
I didn't expect a 70.
Yeah.
I didn't expect a 70 put up, but I did expect a blowout.
Sam was slinging it early on in that game for sure. So Clemson at Georgia Tech. You got Clemson struggles with Troy, but they're still ranked. Georgia Tech is 2-0, and it's at Georgia Tech. So look out for that one. Maybe Wisconsin at Alabama. Wisconsin's 2-0, but they haven't really played anyone. This is can Bama bounce back and show it against a good opponent? I think they will. Then you got a couple really good marquee matchups. You got Georgia at Tennessee. Which is always fun. Both teams are 2-0. Georgia's played Marshall and Austin Peay. Tennessee's beaten Syracuse and East Tennessee State. So kind of the first test for both teams. And then the mentioned game, I think is going to be fun to watch and real interesting. South Florida now at 2-0. And talk about a tough 2-0. Like that's a well-earned 2-0 for South Florida. They now get Miami, who's also 2-0, who beat Notre Dame. They played Bethune-Cookman. No issues there. And then one other big one, you got Texas A&M, number 16 at 8, Notre Dame. A&M has wins against a couple nobodies, and this is going to be Notre Dame's first game after their loss to Miami. So those will be some fun matchups to watch that I'll be at least watching this weekend. Any thoughts on any of those ones, Scott, or any other ones?
Yeah, I think those the Georgia, Tennessee, South Florida, Miami, Texas A&M, Notre Dame are going to be good viewing. I think they're going to be good games. South Florida, Miami. That's a big deal. But let's be honest. There's only one team in that game that's from South Florida, and it's not South Florida. It's Miami. So, no offense to Tampa, but you're not in South Florida. Nowhere close. But, so I'm going to pick Miami to beat South Florida because Miami's a true South Floridian team.
I like it. Nothing wrong with that. So real quick for where these games are, the Wisconsin-Alabama game is at 12 noon on ABC. Georgia-Tennessee is 3:30 on the ABC. The South Florida-Miami game is 4:30 on the CW network. And then the Texas A&M Notre Dame is your night game, 7:30 on NBC Peacock, just for your viewing purposes for the game. Sarah, any thoughts on any of the big matchups for week 3?
See, with the Clemson Georgia Tech game, I really want to go with Georgia Tech, but I'm like almost kind of scared for the upset. Kind of like the same thing of like seeing like Florida lose. Sometimes seeing Clemson lose is fun because like Belle's boyfriend Evan, she's a Clemson fan. I'm a State fan, and State beat Clemson like 2 years ago. So I've kind of just been holding on to that grudge for a bit. And you saw how Clemson was with Troy. They almost lost. Sure, they came back, but they were struggling for basically a majority of basically all of the first half and half of like the second half. So it doesn't really make you feel very confident of where this team is at. It seems like they're kind of little starting off rough. But also same thing with the Georgia-Tennessee game. I would love a Tennessee upset, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, though, for sure.
Yep. And since Chip asked, Kent State does have a marginal winnable game this week. They do play Buffalo at home in a MAC matchup of 1-1 teams. Buffalo should win this game by probably a touchdown or two. But you never know. If they don't win this one, Kent State's next 2 games are at Florida State, and then they get a bye week, and then they go to Oklahoma. So the losing streak could be back to 4 games if they don't beat Buffalo. So we'll watch that, and then maybe Ben will want to do the bit again of doing the numbers because we'll be up to a solid number of 4 because Florida State and Oklahoma will definitely put a whooping on them for sure. So just for you, Chip, there's your Kent State mention. So all right, let's get into some NFL stuff. So a lot of good matchups in week 1. It lived up to everything I think that we all love. Chip's got his Buffalo by 18 plus. Yeah, that could happen. I would not be surprised if that happens for sure. A lot of good matchups in the NFL. We talked about this at the earlier about the spitting game. Philly does take out Dallas 24-20, but the event of that game was clearly Jalen Carter getting ejected right on after the opening kickoff for spitting in the face of Dak Prescott. No idea why he did it. It was interesting to say the least. But Philly takes out, I'll be honest, Dallas played that game a lot closer than what I thought they would. I honestly thought Philly was going to maybe blow them out in that game, but they didn't. They played really well. And then the Friday night game was the Chargers 27-21 over Kansas City. So Kansas City, it's the first time I think, this was one of those games where Kansas City kind of hung in and you're waiting at the end for Patrick Mahomes to lead them down, get a call, and win the game, like what seems to always happen for them in these situations, but it didn't. LA hung on, won the game 27-21. So as a Raiders fan, I enjoyed watching Kansas City lose that game. So we'll see how that all plays out. Any thoughts on the Thursday or Friday game before we get into the games from yesterday?
I thought the Thursday game just minus because I didn't see the spitting incident, but I definitely heard about it within moments. but I thought for me the bigger thing that happened, I mean, losing Carter was a big deal because he's their best player on defense, and I mean that totally changed the concept of what they had to do defensively, because then all of a sudden Dallas was able to run the ball a little bit. And so that was a big deal because they had to move guys over, then they could pass around a little more. So that was a big deal. But I thought when they had the lightning for an hour and 15 minutes. So I was sitting here with my window open, and before they went to commercial break, I heard thunder. Three things of thunder. And then they came back from the break, and they're like, we're going to there's going to be a delay. So I heard it, but I didn't hear it ever again. And so I thought it was a little long, an hour, because they had a delay they had a delay yesterday in Jacksonville game, but they also had a delay with the Denver game. Like the Denver one, and it's like, oh, it's delayed for like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So there was like no delay. But after on Thursday night, after that, I mean, it's like 11:30. There's still, I mean, you almost have 20 minutes left in this game. And I mean, I watched the rest of that game, but I mean, it was a totally different type of game. Both of those teams played to not get injured.
Yeah.
I mean, they did try to finish and win, but the one thing I did see though is, man, Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, those guys are tough as nails. I'd want them on my team any day of the week.
Agree. I love Jalen Hurts. He's a great quarterback for sure. Is there anything on the Thursday, Friday game?
So, Paul, if you're watching this is directed at you. When I'm seeing all this spitting scandals, the one image that comes into my head is Brad Marchand licking. I don't even remember who he licked, but he licked somebody in the NHL playoffs, and I think that's just maybe we're just seeing a bunch of more Brad Marchand moments in football, but just with spitting instead. Also, Dak spitted first. Why? That's going to be controversial. I mean, I hate the Cowboys. I guess I could add that on there. Knowing that Jalen Carter got ejected before Dak, and then find out that Dak actually did it first, it's like, really? Why? What? Like, that's not.
There's a little difference about what happened there.
Yeah,
I mean,
Dak
got spit when he was inside of the
delusional. I want to hate on the Cowboys. I want to hit on the Cowboys, so I'm going to do anything in my power to do so.
I do appreciate that, though.
Chip talked about because he's in that New Jersey area too. Our baseball and soccer games are only 30 minutes from the last Lightning. It did take forever on Thursday. So agreeing with that. All right. I don't know. I just felt like it for that time. I'm sorry. Well, you gotta keep, okay, that's good. All right, so we had 5 games that were just some really, really good finishes on Sunday. Pittsburgh 34, the Jets 32. Boswell hits a 60-yarder in the last minute and a half to win that one for Pittsburgh. Rodgers 4 touchdowns. Even Fields had a good day for him. So just a fun game to watch, back and forth between the two teams. I think if you're a fan of Pittsburgh or the Jets, you got to be pretty excited with what you saw offensively. It's a little kind of surprised that the Jets were able to hang up 32 on Pittsburgh's defense. So we'll see how that adjusts, but that was a fun game. Cincinnati 17, Cleveland 16. We talk about teams finding ways to lose and new fun ways. Cleveland never disappoints me in that. They gave up 7 yards in the second half and lost thanks to a missed extra point and a missed field goal. So it's just Cleveland always finding ways to lose. It's just always entertaining for me. Tampa Bay 23, Atlanta 20 in a great fourth quarter. Penix gets the drive, leads them to what seems like could be the go-ahead touchdown. Baker answers with an amazing touchdown of his own. But then they missed the extra point setting up where a field goal can tie it. And Koo, who's been one of the most reliable kickers in those situations for years, has a chance to hit the field goal to tie it and misses it. So takes that one out. San Francisco holds off Seattle, who was driving on a late on a late drive. Darnold fumbles the ball, so San Francisco holds on for 17-13 win. And then last night ends with just the comeback of all comebacks. I'm telling you, this is why I picked Buffalo. I don't know why. I think this is the year for Buffalo. Buffalo comes from 15 down with 4 to play, and an incredible victory. They beat Baltimore 41-40 with some questionable play calls for Baltimore going down the stretch, and then a man that just never fumbles, who had a hell of a game with Derrick Henry at 160 plus yards and a couple touchdowns, fumbles, and then that's what led to the drive to get him to within 2, and then they get him on a 3 and out with 3 timeouts and get the field goal to win it. So just 5 really incredible finishes. Scooter, any thoughts on any of those 5?
Well, incidentally, I didn't get to watch 3/4 of the game last night because I was asleep, but he's kicking the game-winning field goal right now on the NFL Network, so I get to watch that. So I have that on in the background. So they just won 41-40. It was late. I had to go to bed. Yeah, I mean, the New York Jets, they put up good 32 points. Good for Pittsburgh to score 34. I mean,
yeah, that hasn't happened in a long time.
No, and it was a nice performance on them. The Jets, Breece Hall is real. He's actually going to do stuff. The quarterback, Fields, he played really well.
He did.
He probably was, Pittsburgh, he probably should be the quarterback in Pittsburgh, but, whatever with that. Cincinnati, the good thing about Cincinnati is usually they're horrible in October. September. Now, they were horrible yesterday, but they got to win.
Right.
So, and it's the Browns. Like, we could say whatever, but still, you guys almost lost to the Browns on week 1. And they, like you said, they had 7 passing yards or total yards in the second.
7 total yards, yeah.
I mean, Cincinnati, we know their defense stinks. They held Cleveland to 16. But
yeah.
But seriously, Atlanta, Penix was really good. Other than that, I don't know. Bijan Robinson's their best wide receiver.
Yeah. London, I think, got hurt early in that game.
Yeah, London's not there. So there's something to go on there. Tampa did what Tampa does. They win games. They battle it out, and they took care of business at the end. San Francisco versus Seattle. Woo-hoo! San Francisco beating Seattle. Seattle put in a really good performance, though. But apparently Jackson Smith-Njigba's the only player that catches balls on that team.
Yeah.
And they got to find a way to block a little better, because at the end of that game, just like that ended it all right there when Bosa, he forced him to fumble.
Yep.
And so that we had some good games there.
Sarah, did you see any of them, or any thoughts on it? I know you're driving back.
I was because we were in another bar before we left for Boone again, and so I was but we sat up level, so we couldn't see any of the TV. So I was just kind of refreshing the scores of all the 1:00 games going on. I was shocked that the Jets were winning for a bit. I think it's the comparison between Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers just feels really weird. I don't think either of them are really that good. So seeing them play each other after they basically swap teams, I'm just is this really some sort of flex in a way? Aaron Rodgers is gonna need some Tylenol for his knees, every single week. So it'll be interesting how the starting quarterbacks change out throughout the week, especially with freaking Cleveland with what they got going on. One thing I will say is Micah Parsons' debut in Green Bay. That went pretty good.
Ended it with a sack. That was going to be my first one of the notable games. Green Bay 27, Detroit 13. Is this a one-off for Detroit, or is it a reason for concern? I think Green Bay and Buffalo were my Super Bowl picks. At least through week 1, they made me look pretty good. So we'll see how that plays out. But Green Bay, just really dominant. Another game where didn't really ever feel that close. Green Bay got off to a good start, and that defense just dominated. So we'll see with Detroit. I'm a little concerned. Other ones I want to do for Washington, just a great. I was telling people throughout the preseason that we're getting nervous about the Commanders. It's like just chill. It's just preseason. They're not really showing anything. That defense dominated last night. I mean, granted, I don't know. Russell Wilson, talk about a quarterback that might be done. I just don't know about Russell Wilson, how long he's going to be the starter there before Dart takes over, because it did not look good yesterday. But Washington wins that game very easily, 21-6. Jacksonville, for good old Paulie, just dominates Carolina 26-10. Carolina might be the worst team in the NFL just from what I saw in week one.
Miami.
Okay. Yeah, they Indy destroyed them too, 33-8, and it wasn't even that close. So that was an interesting one too, because I know the Miami's got a lot of love. And then my surprise is that the Raiders go into New England and they scored first, up 7-0, and then they were down 10-7. I was like, oh boy, here we go. But they actually hold Super Genius down, and they win 20-13 to get a road win on. And I said I'd get excited if they win that game in New England, because we never play well on the East Coast, and somehow we did it. So Chip says yes, that's right. Redskins go down to the Dolphin fans one first. I'll come back to that one, Anthony. But let me just get through the football stuff. I'm a Dolphins fan. That was embarrassing. Yeah, it was. I feel sorry for you, Anthony. Wasn't sure if you're going to be on or not. That's why I didn't put the Miami score in there. But Sarah brought it up, so you can be mad at her. And then Chip says needs to knock the rust off Terry, but offense with Bill could be explosive. Yeah, if you're a Commanders fan, there's nothing there to be upset about at all from what you saw in week one. Any thoughts of any of those games on your Washington game or any of the other ones there, Scott?
I'll start with Green Bay. The Micah Parsons, so he had one tackle, one sack. Okay, that's cool. But he was responsible for that interception. Goff had to change a bunch of stuff because of where Micah Parsons was. So he was a big part of that 13 points, if you will. Now, Detroit might want to watch out because Ben Johnson not there anymore. He's a great play caller. And so, 13 points, you don't have Ben Johnson anymore. This might be a thing that they really have to work. Now, Green Bay's good, but you can't lose 27-13. Green Bay's, are they that good? So if you're Detroit, you got some work to do. Can they get? Right. They don't want to go down 0-2. The Raiders, way to go. I mean, that was Pete Carroll, totally big deal. Geno showed up. It was a good, tough, hard-fought win. They weren't afraid at all. They went right into New England. Now, New England, they were a lot of people had these preseason things. It may be a little longer. Yeah. I don't know if they're quite there yet to make that, maybe 6, 7, 8 wins right now. Then let's go to Jacksonville, Carolina. Yeah, Carolina's not very good. Jacksonville, well, they didn't look great. They put up 26. So they offensively, and so they're going to really start putting in Hunter there. He's going to really. He barely played on defense, so they shouldn't even worry about him. But when you go to Washington and the Giants, now first, if they put Dart back there, he would have gotten killed.
Probably, because that offensive line was bad.
And that would have been bad on Dart's career.
Yeah.
So, and to be honest, I didn't see this line this good. Now, I know Daron Payne's really good. He was the player of the game, if you ask me. But those guys on that defensive line, I mean, they were the game. They took care of business.
They did.
And Washington offense, they moved the ball. They didn't get as many points as they should have or could have or should have. But, Debo's a big deal. I like the kitty. Debo's a big deal up there. And I do want to say that LA Ram game. With Houston, man, when they say that, players wake up the next day, they were like in a car accident. I mean, those two teams really feel like they were in a car accident today because I thought
Houston was going to win. I don't know why. It was
a hard-fought game.
Yeah.
I mean, Duke Nakua, I don't know how many stitches he took, but he took stitches and he came out like a hockey player and he had 10 catches. He's
Yeah.
bleeding all over his face. God, that guy's good.
He was. Yeah, I'm surprised how low scoring that game was though too. But sorry,
Those
Chester
defenses.
demanding his pets. Yep, good stuff. So let's get into the Monday night football game a little bit here tonight. Then we'll wrap things up here. Minnesota and Chicago play each other. He's taking up my whole entire notes. The debut of Ben Johnson tonight for Chicago, and of course the debut of J.J. McCarthy at quarterback for Minnesota. So everyone knows Chicago is kind of my surprise pick to make the playoffs this year. We'll see how this. I think this is going to be a good test for them. They're at home, so they'll have the home crowd. It's a good test for J.J. McCarthy too, because I think Chicago's defense is pretty good. So we'll see how this one all plays out tonight. I think, but I think if Chicago is going to show something, it starts here tonight. Scott, what are your thoughts on the game tonight?
Yeah, I think Chicago, they look set to possibly win tonight. I don't know if they will, but they could certainly win tonight. So it should be a fun game. I think the offense of the Bears will be really good actually, and their defense okay. Minnesota, their offense, I mean, they're going to keep JJ. They're going to try to keep the pressure down. They're probably going to run the two backs a lot, and then because really they only have they have they got their tight end who's pretty good. He'll probably get the ball a lot, being the outlet. But then you don't. I mean, besides Jefferson, who's amazing. I mean, you don't.
They got Thielen. They got Thielen back, right?
Like 34, 36. I don't know.
So get up there.
I expect to see a lot of running tight ends in Jefferson. That's about it.
Yeah, we'll see how this one goes. I think, but like I said, it's going to be a good first game for Chicago to see where they're at and if they can do something fun. For sure. So let's go ahead and get into a couple of the week 2 matchups, mostly featuring some of the teams that we root for. Washington Thursday night game. We'll see too. We'll get a much better view of where Washington's at. They have to go into Green Bay and face Green Bay on a short week. It's hard enough facing Green Bay. Then you got to do it on a short week. So we'll get a good idea of both of those teams in that one. Philly goes to KC. Is it possible KC actually starts the season 0-2? And how much fun would that be if that happens? And then Monday night, we got a couple good games. You got the Chargers going out to Vegas, a battle of 1-0 teams. So one of those two teams is going to be in sole possession of first place in the AFC West after that game. And then you got Jacksonville going to Cincinnati. So two teams that got some wins, didn't necessarily play the greatest, but they're going to have their chance on Monday night as well. So those are just a few of the bigger matchups that I wanted to hit on, just with everyone's teams that are kind of around and stuff like that. There's a lot of 1-0. It's surprising there's a lot of 1-0 and 0 against 0-1 teams. And again, it's week 2. I think it's the same thing for the NFL until you get to like week 4, week 5. That's when you can really start to see, okay, what's going to be a really good matchup or not. So any week 2 matchups stand out to you, Scott, that you want to talk about?
I like that Washington Green Bay, obviously, for many reasons. I think that'll be a good game. I mean, Washington has to keep the pressure down from the blitzing. They may go more double tight end packages, get some tight ends in the backfield. Cliff Kingsbury's pretty good at moving guys around. We saw what Debo did. They had those crazy formations in the back that really screwed up the Giants, kind of fake double reverses, which were kind of cool. That was fun to see. Now I think that Washington's defense. Now there's a chance they could perform well in Green Bay against Green Bay if that line holds up. But now we got to see what the secondary does.
Yeah,
because I mean Russell Wilson had zero time to do anything, and he couldn't throw to his wide receiver, the juvenile delinquent they got out there who wants the ball at all times. But it should be a good game. Philly, KC, another one. But Philly should really win this one by a bit. I don't care if they're in KC. Chargers, Vegas, that should be a good one. Vegas, Vegas better be ready to hit, but their defense is definitely ready, and I think Carroll will get them up for it. You could see them win this one. And then since he plays like they did this week, I don't care who they play. They're going to play a team like Jacksonville. Jacksonville's they're going to pass all over them, and they're going to run all over them. and I think their defense is going to come after Cincy. So I think Jacksonville takes. They could win this one. Cincy's probably starting out 1-1.
I like it. I think you could be right. Let me pull up here. Another one. Seattle goes to Pittsburgh because we got some Steeler fans out there. Steelers are 1-0, so that could be fun. And with Anthony being on, New England at Miami, so that'll be interesting. Who gets the rebound in that one? They're both 0-1, so we'll see how that all plays out. So, Sarah, any week 2 matchups that look good to you?
I mean, obviously Philly, KC. I see, picking between KC and Philly lately is such an issue because it's usually what has gone on the past couple of Super Bowls that I've watched. Like either one of those teams is always going to be in the Super Bowl. So I really would like it if just like an asteroid, like isn't it in Philly? Because like I could
It's
totally
in KC.
Okay, then maybe like less of an asteroid, maybe like a I'm trying to think of like
Meteor?
another. Yeah,
Like a
maybe like
meteor?
just like a tiny like meteor just like strikes the stadium specifically. That would make me happy. Like I root for injuries as well. Which I do think is kind of funny that it'd be interesting to see if Worthy's gonna be. I think he's questionable for this week. I don't know if anything's been said about him.
Not yet. They won't because they're all off today, so we'll start getting the injury reports
Who is
tomorrow.
this?
Worthy.
Xavier Worthy, who got popped.
Well, it sounds like a separated shoulder.
By his own teammate Travis Kelce.
Sounds like a separated shoulder. I think they did
Right.
say the separated shoulder. And Andy Reid said he's day to day, which you separate your shoulder, you're not big. But he could. You never know. But yeah, you want to rest him. You should rest him. You don't want to go right back, especially against Philly. So.
Right. And Anthony puts in there, I think people are overblowing, overreacting. Lost Casey. It's not really that, Anthony. It's more like when you're in the same division as Kansas City, they've just been so good for this long. You're kind of maybe hoping more than anything
root for
like
the
that.
downfall.
So, yeah, we're rooting for the downfall, exactly. Just because you want to see it happen, and it gives maybe your team a sliver of hope. So read that one above it, Sarah. With so how long do you think Jacksonville realizes that they're not going to be able to play Travis Hunter both ways throughout the season when they're going to force him to play one position? We'll see. I don't know. I think that's Dion figured out a way to do it. I think it all depends on the player and the team. I think if you get the longer they stay in the race, you're probably going to want to start limiting some snaps, or you may even want to limit snaps if they get out of the race because you don't want to risk an injury potential, right? So I don't know if there's a right answer for it because we just haven't had many players be able to do what he's trying to do. And I think you have to listen to the player and pro. Yeah, I agree. It's totally different, in college than pro. So you listen to the player and you listen to your training staff, and then you listen to the coaches on that. So I'm not going to say when.
We may have seen it already. Game 1, he played 6 snaps in defense.
Yeah, true.
And he's arguably the best athlete.
Yeah.
And when he comes in, he's going to come in and play kind of like the slot area. So he's not going to he'll play like 6 a game probably.
It's probably going to be those passing situations where they got to pass.
Right.
Third and long, stuff like that. I think that's where you see him use them on defense.
And back to piggyback on KC real quick.
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, they played at home after they won the Super Bowl. They played at home against the Lions, and the Lions beat them in game 1. And then I believe they went to didn't they win the Super Bowl 2 years in a row?
I think yes, they did. I think so.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm going to go backwards.
Counter. I was scared that was going to be a mention there.
You thought so? Yeah. Real quick, let me get this before we wrap up here. Anthony put on here, what are your opinions on some Notre Dame YouTube channels? I'm not sure if you're a Notre Dame fan yourself, saying the great thing about Miami's they're undisciplined thugs and vice versa. Look, the whole convicts versus, that thing is played out in my mind. I have not seen that particular thing, Anthony, that you're talking about there, but to me, it's now that game's over with. If you're Miami, you got to worry about South Florida because the way South Florida is playing right now, that they could go in there and pull off an upset. So if they don't take South Florida seriously, they're going to have their own things to worry about. But that's kind of in the past from that first one, so I wouldn't worry too much about that anymore. And if just keep doing it on the field. Win games on the field, and whatever else people say doesn't
going
really
into
matter.
Miami, are we worried about Cam Ward's debut against Denver? What do we think about it?
I thought he did okay. I mean,
He did okay.
Yeah, Denver's a really good defense. I don't think there's anything wrong with. I think he did fine. I wasn't expecting Tennessee to win that game. They hung around probably more than I thought they would. So I mean, was it great? No. Was it bad? No. I think he's got potential. I think it's there. We'll see what he does. Who's Tennessee player of this real quick?
Yeah, I thought he had a nice performance considering he was a rookie in his first pick. But yeah, he had a good performance. He didn't make too many errors or anything, and what he has to work with.
Doesn't get any better for him. He's got to go face the Rams defense next week. So not good matchups.
That'll be a tough one.
Let me see here. There's one other question Anthony had talking about Davy Johnson. There it is. What can you explain to how the great match with Davy Johnson was outside of winning the World Series with the Mets? I mean, I think Scott hit on this. He did a lot for Washington when he first got there because Washington wasn't that good until Davy got there and kind of started the run with getting some decent players in there. So you probably don't win a World Series in Washington without Davy Johnson laying some of those early bricks. He wasn't there to enjoy it, but him and Dusty Baker, I don't think Washington wins the World Series without Davy Johnson first and then Dusty Baker coming in later. So that's part of it too. The Reds, he kind of got forced out by Marge Schott. He was doing really well there, but Marge Schott wanted her boy Ray Knight, and that was it. So
if people don't know who Marge Schott is, she was a psycho.
Right, a psycho
if
owner
you
for the
Dan
Reds.
Snyder was bad, you didn't have Marge Schott.
Yeah, and I think he's got like of the last 25 or 30 years, something like that. He's got like the 7th highest winning percentage. So he won games. So I think that speaks for itself too. That's
he was also, when he came to Washington, he was hired as he wasn't hired as the manager. He was hired for like 2 years as a kind of an executive,
right?
For the field, almost like an assistant GM, if you will.
Yep. All right, we've been going at this for an hour 20, so I think it's time to wrap this thing up. So I'm going to be off for the next 3 weeks. My wife and I are going on a nice long trip through Europe. It's going to be fun. It's going to be amazing. If you're a friend of the good old European vacation, not quite doing that, but we've been calling it the pig and a poke. From the good old.
You could win all or nothing.
Yes, right. So
But don't forget, if it's a Euro trip, Scotty doesn't know. Scotty,
right?
Tell me, I don't know.
So Showtime Sarah's going to take over the show for these next 3 weeks. So and she'll have Scooter will be on too, and we'll have all kinds of fun stuff. So but that's coming up over the next 3 weeks. So how she decides to take the show is going to be totally up to her. I know you're talking about something about there's a couple of athletes on Dancing with the Stars that you might do a Dancing with the Stars segment.
Yeah. So, Scooter, tell me if you're in a Dancing with the Stars now, because I would hate to get you involved in this segment.
I'll look up who's Dancing with the Stars. I won't watch, but I'll definitely look it up.
There you go. He'll make sure he's on it.
So NBA star Baron Davis is going to be on Dancing with the Stars. You also have U.S. Olympian gymnast Jordan Tyus is also going to be on Dancing with the Stars, as long as some other very interesting celebrities that I will obviously mention later. That starts Tuesday, September 16th. So it's going to be very interesting trying to see how to put it into the schedule, because I'm basically going to be talking about it like 6 days later. So I'm going to have to try to remember to try to incorporate that. Obviously, I'm not going to do it next week because it wouldn't have started by then. But
Sarah, you should predict who's going to make it to the final 5 next week.
Okay, yeah. I'll do my predictions. I've been thinking about it. I've seen everybody else's post about it, and obviously, just like certain people just being like, I will say, Dad, some interesting. I'll tell you some of the cast now, since you're not going to be here next week for me to go more into about it. You have Corey Feldman on there.
I saw that. Yes, from the
and Andy Richards from Elf.
Goonies Never Die. I'll root for him just because it's Goonies Never Die. So
yeah,
that's what we'll go
you also
there.
have Danielle Fishel, Topanga.
Yep. Oh, okay. I don't know. Okay.
I went to high school with Will Friedle.
Oh boy.
In a town right outside of Hartford.
Yep.
Will at the time was like 5'6" and chubby, but we knew him because he was in Nintendo commercials, and he was a cool kid. We didn't expect him to, become a star, but yeah, good for him. Nice kid.
That's funny. All right. And then when I am back on October 6th, that is going to be our big hockey preseason preview show. So get ready for that. It will be fun. I'm going to try to I've let everyone, all the hockey experts that I know, so that way we can get we'll have some good times together as far as deciding, we'll give you our predictions, who players to watch for, can Florida repeat, all those fun questions we will answer when I'm back on October 6th. And then, hey, Sideline Junkies will have you covered for everything, for sure. So tonight, too, coming up here in a matter of about 36 minutes, we got the coach's show, Pretenders or Contenders. He's going to be breaking down the PG County football results from week 1. He's also got NFL player Tino Ellis joining him. So make sure you check that out at 7 o'clock. It should be a great show. And then, of course, the guys will be back for the Tuesday night flight, the Thursday night throwdown, Wednesday, the Gentleman Jack. I'm not sure who he's got to be interviewing this week, but he's been having some great guests on there. And then the guys get you ready for your Sunday morning NFL start with the Sunday morning NFL Rise. So it is time to hit the exit ramp, folks. We've gone on long enough here. So, Scott, any last thoughts you want to throw out there for the week?
Yeah, just want to put this out there that 24 years ago on a September 11th, it was a horrible day. The anniversary, the 24th anniversary is coming up on Thursday. So any chance you get to take a little time out that day to remember all those people who tragically were killed in many horrible ways. So let's, prayers to them, and here's to a great week for everyone.
I agree with that. Sarah, you got any last second thoughts?
I wasn't alive during 9/11.
No, you weren't.
That's gonna be weird.
I remember that day.
It's gonna be weird going into the next generations where I'm sure obviously things will still be remembered. It's always remembered, but seeing how other people will describe it in a way.
Chip threw out a little safe travels. Yeah, we got a show tomorrow. Then Thursday, then we got a baseball game Friday night. Saturday's the Weird Al concert, and then we fly out on Sunday. So I go from Weird Al to Europe. So that's gonna be that'll be an interesting difference in the
good luck
crowds,
in Newark.
Yeah, hopefully no issues with Newark. I think they got that fixed, so I'm going in there positively.
If you have Matt on Facebook, he will do a throat punch counter.
Yes. Oh, that's right. He does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
airport.
I punches in Europe.
I expect that to be high in Newark for sure. So I'm sure that should be good.
Be careful about
that would be Newark, New Jersey.
Right.
Yeah, not where I am right now, Newark, Delaware.
Right.
Well, exactly. The same. That's different.
All right, folks. That's the end of the show. Again, remember, make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them and hug them, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Hopefully, we'll all be here on the next show, and Scott and Sarah will take you through that. And until then, we'll see you guys on October 6th for myself personally for the big hockey show. So until then, everyone, adios.